So everyone's here to watch Buster Keaton. We only have 5 viewers now. I lost some people. We're going to watch Buster Keaton. The first thing I want to do is play you a trailer of a movie that I wish I could get. Yeah, this is a movie I wish I could find. So we'll just watch this trailer.
Desaparición en un campo deportivo, la extra, desaparición de millares de personas.
¿Qué extraño fenómeno provoca el desconcierto, el pánico y la histeria colectiva?
Con el fin de no alarmar a la opinión pública, hasta ahora se mantuvieron en secreto los numerosos secuestros que han venido ocurriendo entre los habitantes de la ciudad.
¿Qué extraña aventura están viviendo? Este es el relato más increíble.
De ahora en adelante hablaremos en español, que es el idioma usado en el país a donde nos han destinado y que los terrícolas llaman México.
Seres de otros planetas invaden la Tierra. Estamos frente a la invasión de los marcianos. Solo un superhombre puede contener esta invasión. Solo él puede evitar que desaparezca todo rastro de vida en el planeta. ¡Santo! El enmascarado de plata contra la invasión de los marcianos.
Pero ¿cómo apoderarse de ellas?
We got a $10 donation from James. Very much appreciated, James. But obviously, at this point, this movie is
El terror está apoderándose ya de los terrícolas.
El Santo versus the Martian
Sin embargo,
invasion.
uno de ellos que viste extrañamente.
Dr. Dewey wants to
Y
know,
que
are
se
these
cubre el
outfits
rostro
gold or
con una
silver? That's an
máscara de
excellent
plata
question.
estuvo a punto de entorpecer nuestros planes. Ustedes dos tendrán que acompañarme a nuestra nave espacial. Bastará con que me tomen de la mano.
Acción y violencia frente a fuerzas.
Of course, he has to get a Martian in the ring. Uh-oh.
Una fantástica aventura hasta hace poco irrealizable.
Nada podemos hacer. El Señor es el único que puede salvarnos. Oremos. Padre.
Entréguese enmascarado. No tiene salvación.
Lucharé hasta morir.
¡Santo! El enmascarado de plata contra la invasión de los marcianos. Una película diferente en su técnica, nueva por su emoción sin límites, arrolladora por su acción constante.
More contrived.
Todos los recursos son válidos para
Here we go.
vencer a
This is the important part.
Santo, el enmascarado de plata.
Santo in the Mask of Silver. That's what that means.
Wolf Rubinsky,
Wolf Rubinsky,
Benny Galán,
Ham Lee,
y el Nazi.
El Nazi.
4 nuevas y lindas estrellas especialmente seleccionadas para esta producción.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maura Monti. Maura Monti was the Mexican Batwoman. That's another movie I wish I could show.
Sin faltar Eduardo Bonada y Antonio Montoro, Manuel Sosaya, Aarón Hernández,
This is a huge cast.
Consuelo Frank y Alicia Montoya. Usted, que es afecto a las películas fantásticas y espectaculares, le recomendamos esta como la más increíble aventura jamás filmada. Véala y lo comprobará. Santo, el enmascarado de plata contra la invasión de los marcianos.
This is an
Una
incredible
producción
title.
de Alfonso Rosa
The title has like
Priego
9
para
words in it.
Producciones Cinematográficas Sociedad Anónima, dirigida por Alfredo B. Crevena. Véala pronto en esta sala.
Doc Dweeb says, "Oh, I forgot about Mexican Batwoman. How dare you? Yeah, how dare you forget about Mexican Batwoman?" Yeah, she was great. A really slow-paced, boring movie, the Mexican Batwoman thing, but she looked fantastic. Miranda says she donated as well. Let's see how much we got. $20. Okay, so we've got 30. I wish your donations could come up on screen here, but I know you were having trouble with getting that process to work. And I appreciate it, James, you using the link on the video here to make your donations. That's always appreciated. But anyway, El Santo, the Silver Masked Wrestler versus the Invasion of the Martians. I wish I could get that movie. I looked for it online, couldn't find it. It looks like it would be great. I think at the beginning of that of that trailer, I think the guy on TV was telling everyone to shelter at home. I think those are the words he was using in Spanish, which struck me just now. Miranda says my PayPal lets me quick pay you now too. It's much easier. Yes, okay. Well, thank you for your donations anyway. I do have a selection of items that people can receive as prizes for donating. I don't have that photo. I don't think I have the photo handy. Anyway, the Iron Giant is spoken for. One of our other supporters piped up last time and said she wanted it. What's her name? What was her name? Margie. Margie from Facebook said she wanted that, so she's going to be taking the Iron Giant. And Miranda, that tiny Darth Maul is here for you, and I found a tiny Darth Vader to go with him. You can have both of those if you like. I wasn't able to find anything about Santo versus the Martian invasion, but I did find the movie poster. Look at this tremendous poster. So this answers your question, Doc Dweeb. They're gold. The costumes are gold. Miranda says, heck yeah. Santo el Enmascadero de Plata, the silver mask. But here's our tiny Darth Maul. It's a little plastic deal that I got. I'm pretty sure I got in a gumball machine. Copyright 1999. Yeah, tiny little Darth Maul. And I also found this, I don't know where I got it, a tiny little Darth Vader with a red lightsaber. The thing about this Darth Vader is it's die-cast metal. It's tiny, but it's heavy. Let's see if it'll focus on him. It's focusing on my hand. It's a super tiny Darth Vader made out of die-cast metal for some reason. Miranda says, I love them. Yeah. Yeah, I knew she would. The other things I wanted to show you. What did I want to show you? We'll get to some of these other things in a moment. I want to show you a cartoon. I want to show you a Felix the Cat cartoon. I've never shown a Felix the Cat cartoon. Felix the Cat, the Buster Keaton movie we're going to watch later tonight is Steamboat Bill Jr., which came out in 1928. It's a silent film. It's the first legitimately silent film that I've shown here. I watched it all the way through a couple of weeks ago. I bought a Blu-ray of it, a restored Blu-ray by Kino. Kino does good work as far as restoration. Unfortunately, I don't have any way of playing a Blu-ray. Not any way to pipe it into the computer anyway, so I still had to download a rip of it. It was in 1928, which is considered the final year of the silence. There were other silent movies released after that, but 1928 was the year that sound movies really started. It was the same year of the first Mickey Mouse cartoon, which was also the first successful sound cartoon. And the Felix the Cat cartoon I'm going to show you is from 1928. It is silent. Felix the Cat was the first animated movie star. He was the first cartoon character that became a big hit. and got merchandising and everything. He first appeared in 1919. Felix is 101 years old this year. That's a full decade older than Mickey Mouse. When Mickey Mouse came along in 1928, Felix had been around for a full decade. And people were kind of tired of him. A generation had been with him. He was on his way out. But when Felix was in his heyday, you couldn't walk down the street in the city without seeing Felix the Cat merchandise. Felix the Cat toys, Felix the Cat stuffed animals, Felix the Cat neckties, Felix the Cat coffee mugs, Felix the Cat everything. He was one of those. He was one of the early merchandising greats, where they put him on literally everything they could think of. So Felix the Cat was the first movie star, and this is the first time I'm going to show you a Felix the Cat cartoon. So let's get on with it, shall we? I'm going to pause this for a second. The title of this cartoon, it says Astronomius there, and for many, many years I always wondered, what does that word mean? What is it supposed to mean, Astronomius? Or am I pronouncing it correctly? I first saw it in the 1980s on VHS, and I was always, how am I supposed to pronounce this? What does it mean? And then I saw someone misspell it, and they spelled it Astronomiaus, M-E-O-W-S. And I thought, you know what? I bet it's supposed to be pronounced Astronomiaus, even though it's spelled that way. That might be an archaic spelling. So here we go with, I'm going to call it Astronomiaus. I'm going to turn down the music so I can talk over it. So I'm going to be talking all the way through this. This is, the animation style here is a holdover from the heyday of the silent animation era. There's some sound that was plugged in here, obviously, years later. But this was a full-on silent cartoon. And you're not missing any dialogue. There's just some screeching sounds. But these cartoons were not done on, they were not painted on the transparent cells. This was animated on paper. You can see this character that's standing in front of the wall, where the floor meets the wall. You can see the line behind him shifting slightly as he moves, because that line is being redrawn on each successive sheet of paper. Some sort of Felix is running for some sort of office, maybe for president or something. It's hard to tell because they don't explain. There's no captions that break in to explain exactly what he's talking about. Was 1928 a presidential election year? That might answer our question. Doc Dweeb says, I believe so, and James says, yes. Okay, so so it was. I guess that answers our question. People at the time would have known that Felix was running for president. And apparently one of his campaign platforms here is to get feline kind into space. And this is how he's chosen to do it. Instead of just zooming away from the drawing there, which would have been easier, they made smaller and smaller drawings. A lot of work that they didn't have to go to. Felix the Cat was invented by a cartoonist named Otto Messmer. I remember telling that to a friend of mine once. And he said, "Oh, is that the same guy who invented mesmerism, as in hypnotism?" And I said, "No, it's not the same guy. It's not spelled the same either." So Felix is on Mars now. Again, you can see the horizon line shifting slightly because it's being redrawn in every frame. Doc Dweeb says, "Did he cause the War of the Worlds?" Maybe. Watch the rest of the cartoon. War of the Worlds was written... If this was in 1928, War of the Worlds was published like 30 years earlier. It was published in the 1890s. Now that you bring up War of the Worlds. Okay, some hammer-headed bird hammered Felix into the ground, into the cloak of the King of Mars. That was a mistake, I would think. I'm guessing this is the King of Mars. Felix is asking, okay, where are the hot Mexican chicks in gold leotards? So the Martian scientist told a joke, I guess. It was a passing comet. Doc Brief says Queen Tyranny's grandfather? Queen Tyranny. Where do I know that name? She's from the Duck Dodgers cartoon, right? Duck Dodgers, yeah, he's telling me right now. But he has the same black body and black face that they do on that the Warner Brothers Marvin the Martian character has. Okay, so Felix is gonna save the king's life, and the king will be grateful to him. Well, this comet has all sorts of uses. Come on up, everything's great on Mars. So this was Felix's, one of Felix's campaign platforms, was to get cats to Mars or into space anywhere. And there they go, the end. Oh, not quite the end. Okay, that's the end. Alright, that's Felix the cat. That was the first opportunity I've had to show you a Felix the Cat cartoon, and well worth the wait it was, wasn't it? But keep in mind that when we talk about Felix the Cat, these days we're thinking of Felix, the various Felix the Cat revivals that have happened since then. It's really rare for us to see the original silent Felix cartoons. It's very rare. I grew up with the Felix the Cat revival from the mid-1960s, where he had his magic bag of tricks, and his enemies were he had super villain enemies like Master Cylinder and Professor. What was the professor's name? But the voice of Felix the Cat in the 1960s revival was Jack Mercer, the voice of Popeye. So that's the Felix that I grew up with. Alright, what am I going to show you next? I'm going to show you Steamboat Bill Jr. No, I've got one other thing to show you. One of the things that I was most pleasantly surprised about when I watched Steamboat Bill Jr. was his co-star, Marion Byron, here. I'd never seen her before, never heard of her, and she just floored me. She was tremendous, and so I did some reading about her. She was a successful actress in her own right. She starred in a number of short comedies produced by Hal Roach, with a co-star named Anita Garvin. And the two of them were intended to be the next big comedy team for Hal Roach. Hal Roach was the guy who created. He was the guy who put Laurel and Hardy together. He was the guy who created the Little Rascals, the Our Gang films. He made hundreds and hundreds of short subject films, comedies in particular, all throughout the silent era, and on into the talkies. And he apparently tried a number of times to create a female Laurel and Hardy, and this was one of his attempts. Marion Byron and Anita Garvin. And here are some other pictures of the two of them. They look like they were having a great time. And here she is in one of the scenes in Steamboat Bill Jr. We'll get to that in a minute. First, I'm going to show you one of the short films starring Marion Byron and Anita Garvin. I'm going to show you parts of it anyway. This is a silent film. I think it's from 1928 as well. Yeah, that's what it says, 28, maybe 27. It's called A Pair of Tights. Tights as in tightwads. So it's a pun referring to a pair of women. You're talking about both the women's apparel and the fact that they are tightwads, or that they are poor. That could be a third meaning. Come to think of it, they're living tight because they're poor. Their boyfriends are tightwads. That's it. So it's a triple meaning. The story of two girls who were born hungry, raised hungry, grew up hungry, and still are. This is one of the things that we would just never see anymore unless it came up in a situation. Anita with the appetite of a bird, the ostrich. Marion, another little girl who eats on the American, European, or Eskimo plan. People should watch more. I'm so hungry I could eat a contented cow. I'm not sure what that particular reference is. Maybe it was a joke from the time. Said, my boyfriend is bringing his boss to call. He wants to meet you. Oh boy. Look at this dress that she said, maybe they'll take us out to dinner. Look at this dress that Anita Garvin is wearing when she turns around. When she takes her apron off and turns around. She has some sort of cape attached to the back of her dress. I've never seen anything like that before. That's a fashion that should come back. I think two tightwads, Jimmy Valentine couldn't open their pockets. We don't have to spend any money on these Janes, do we? Uh-oh. There should be more viewing of silent films. They are such a lesson in visual comedy. Like, you see how much these people are communicating and how much humor they're creating just with body language and facial expressions. This guy, I'm pretty sure the guy playing the boss. Okay, whatever. The guy playing the boss, I'm sure we've seen him in many, many short subject films. Three Stooges, Little Rascals. He looks so familiar. My boss is sure a bear with the women. That's an inappropriate fella. That's an inappropriate thing to say. Right in front of her. I hope people are still watching. This is a great example of what I was talking about here. How much body language and facial expression is involved. There's no subtitles, no breaking in of any dialogue because it's not necessary. Oh, I wish I'd known about this years ago. This is hilarious. Well, how are you? Starving. Yeah. Well, see, she's got that cape on the back of her dress. What? I like that. Now, see, this film has this really great start with a really great subtle comedy. It's all just acting and body language, and making me laugh hysterically. Unfortunately, the rest of the film is slapstick like this. In fact, I'll skip ahead and show you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. and it gets it gets to be not funny. The slapstick is really it's really too much and out of place, and it doesn't work. Yeah, see, stuff like that, and it just goes on and on and on. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, and I'll show you Steamboat Bill Jr. Buster Keaton, for those of you who don't know, if you've never seen Buster Keaton film or don't know anything about him, he was one of the biggest names in film all through the silent era, and on into the talkies, and later in his life he appeared he appeared on television all the time, as well as film. He appeared on an episode of Twilight Zone. Rod Serling wrote an episode of Twilight Zone just for Buster Keaton. He was in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in the 1960s. So yeah, he had one of the longest, most illustrious careers in film. Doc Dweeb says, my real introduction to silent comedy movies was the silent movies they would play at Shakey's Pizza Parlor back when I was a kid. Oh, interesting. So they would put them on the TV, on a TV up on the wall, I guess. And the silent films are the perfect thing to play in a public place like that. They're perfect for that. So that's, yeah, Shakey's Pizza. Oh, I haven't thought about Shakey's Pizza in a long time. There weren't that many Shakey's Pizzas where I grew up, but I'm certainly familiar with it. This film was produced, he says, no, they actually had a projector and screen. No kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I guess if we're talking about yeah, you must be more like my generation. James says that he was in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Okay, yeah, Buster Keaton did a lot of things. I guess Doc Dweeb, you must be closer to my generation, where when we were little kids, there were no VHS tapes. You couldn't play things on TV. Doc Dweeb was born 1964. Okay, I was 65. Yeah. So yeah, I guess when we were little kids, they would have to do it on a projector. Man, what a hassle! What a hassle! That took dedication. Whoever was running your Shakey's franchise must have been really enthused about silent films. It's a great idea, though. Great idea. What was I going to say? Buster Keaton. This film, Steamboat Bill Jr. The title was inspired by a song of the same name, and the music was used in the soundtrack that was played along with the silent film. And Buster Keaton produced the film himself with his own independent production company, because he couldn't get anyone else to produce it, because it might have had something to do with all the stunts that he did himself. But you'll see examples of all the stunt work that Buster Keaton is doing, and it's all there are no stand-ins, there are no stuntmen. He's doing everything himself. And this movie contains a single moment that you've seen your whole life. There's one clip that you will recognize when you see it, and it actually is him doing what it looks like he's doing. And after this film was released, it was a financial flop, and it marked the end of his independent production company. And after that, he started starring in movies that were produced by other people, which is unfortunate. Because all the way through this film, I was entertained all the way through this film. When I sat down to watch it, I was thinking, is it going to be slow at points? We're going to have difficulty sitting through it? But no, I was entertained every minute all the way through it. And there were many times throughout this film where not only was I laughing, but I was saying, oh my God, because of the things that he's doing. So let's get on with it. Doc Dweeb says they usually played them Friday and Saturday nights during most of the year and more nights during the summer. What were some of the films that you saw? Were you seeing Buster Keaton stuff? Were you seeing Laurel and Hardy? Yeah, let us know what you were seeing. Alright, I'm going to play Steamboat Bill Jr. without any further nonsense. And I'm going to turn the volume down very low so that I can talk through it. Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, W.C. Fields. Harold Lloyd, that's I was trying to think up that name. Yeah, Harold Lloyd, W.C. Fields, Laurel Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, yeah. Muddy Waters. Look how good the picture is. How sharp the picture is. Everybody who's still here, let me know that you're here. Miranda says present. Dr. Weeb says, man, that is good quality picture. Yeah, it's a great picture, isn't it? Larry says, I remember the movies at Shakey's too. Oh, so they did that company-wide, not just James says here. The old steamer Stonewall Jackson. The owner, William Canfield, better known as Steamboat Bill. Played by Ernest Torrance. Bill's first and last mate, played by Tom Lewis. Doc Dweeb says usually have piano players at Shakey's too. They played a lot during the... Really? That is amazing. Brian Boise says hi. Brian, welcome. Glad to have you here. Always glad to see Brian. Brian, we know from Manos, the Hands of Fate fame. His father played the sheriff in Manos, the Hands of Fate, and he himself played the sheriff in Manos Returns, the sequel, which was made a few years ago by our friend Tanya Atomic. And Manos Returns is now available to live stream on Amazon Prime. People have been asking for months, how are we going to see Manos Returns? You can see it on Amazon Prime now. Thank you for coming, Brian. Always glad to see you. Brian has been a great supporter of everything that we've been doing here at 50th Street Studio. I'll run on this river if I'm the only passenger on the boat. Miranda says there's a theater in Boise that does silent movies with the piano player. I love it. Really? Okay. Doc Dweeb says we'll have to check that out. Brian says Manos Returns free on Prime. Oh, it's free. Really? Telegram from your son. Dear Dad, it was Mother's wish that when I finish school to pay you a visit. I think I arrive Saturday, 10 a.m. You can't mistake me. I'll be wearing a white carnation. Regards, William Canfield Jr. So this is Steamboat Bill Jr. and I already see identity mix-ups coming. It's from my Willie. I haven't seen him since he was a baby. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Must be a big lad by now. Bet he's bigger than me. Well, Bill... this is. King's Daughter, Home from School, played by Marion Byron. Here she is. Brian says $1.99 if you aren't a Prime member. Well worth it. $1.99? Gosh, that is a bargain. I've seen Manus Returns more than once. And I have to tell you, it held my attention all the way through. And that's quite an accomplishment. White Carnation. Uh-oh. Toe. There's white carnations all over the place. Any of you boys looking for a father? Doc Dweeb, of course there are. This is almost 8 o'clock. We've been here for an hour already. This is not a long film. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. Gosh, I wonder who that is. He got off at where the signs at River Junction. Oh yes, I have one too. Oh, oh no. Oh no. I look like no way. No son of mine. Doc Dweeb says Manus Returns on my watch list. That's great. Oh no. if you say what you're thinking. Oh, well, no wonder. I think their performances are very touching. We think of performances from the silent era, performers being overacting and being too broad. But I think their performances are very subtle. Relying so much on facial expression. We've still got 6 people watching. If you're watching us on Facebook, I might not be seeing your chats. I think everyone's watching on Twitch right now. We're also on Mixer, we're on YouTube, we're on Periscope and Picarto, and on Facebook. I should be seeing your chats no matter where you are. I will not be seeing your chats on Picarto. I don't think anyone's ever watched us on Picarto. If you're watching on Facebook, I might not be seeing your chats. You might want to come over to Twitch. Take that barnacle off his lip. What would a silent film be without a shaving scene? Without a barbershop scene? Oh, ouch. So they cut women's hair and men's hair at the barbershop. Why, Willie Canfield, what are you doing so far from Boston? What do you know? They know each other. My father's here. He says, my father's here too, so is mine, and you'll love him. But, gosh, I wonder who her father is. Well, we already know, don't we? Okay, so there has to be a hat trying on scene. Anyone who comes in while we're watching, please say hello. I always like to know when new people come in, and anyone who's never been here before. And get him a real jacket, Doc Dweeb says. But Doc, he's the height of Boston fashion. Come on. I am developing a bit of a cough. I just hit the microphone there. I don't feel feverish or anything. There he is with the messed up golf cap again. Now, every evening when I go to bed, my throat is scratchy and I'm sniffling and I'm getting some post-nasal drip. Every evening I go to bed, I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good. I wonder if it's happening. Then the next morning I'm fine. Doc Dweeb says, hay fever. Allergies are usually a problem for me. I've been allergy-free for months now. I've had an unusually healthy 6 months. I think it's amazing how much comedy he's getting out of this. Oh, there we go. He likes that one, so... Oh, wait a minute, or he doesn't like it. This hat guy is quick, yeah. Hey, you gotta be quick when you're running a hat store. What? Oh well. Bye-bye hat. Big Bill is in for an unpleasant surprise. Oh, look. Is that Steamboat Bill Jr.? Aww. Fix him up with some working clothes for the boat. Well, you're gonna get your jacket, Doc. Oh, hey. That woman in the window didn't like it either. This is my favorite single moment in the film. Is this the conversation between the girl and Bill Jr. here? This moment when he sniffs her hair while she's chatting away. That's my favorite little moment in the film. Working clothes for the boat with her help. It's just a charming little moment that that will go by unnoticed if you're not paying attention. Oh, she got him a nice Navy outfit. The jury, no jury would convict you. a bit extreme, don't you think? Well, it went straight down. Were the life rafts made of metal? What? Concrete. Oh, I gotta yawn. And that's a suspiciously placed rope. Psst. Yep. See, this is good comedy. Doc says they all had to be quite athletic with the sense they did for themselves back then. Yeah. A different kind of athletic than we think of athletic today. But Bill Jr. and his girlfriend here, these are college people. These are adults. They don't need to sit still for people telling them what to do and where to go. Oh. I find him on this boat again, I'll personally wring his neck. This looks like an unhealthy spot to be doing this. Dude, don't let him treat you like that. There we go. Say, Mac, whose boat are you on anyway? Oh. That's what that's for. Ow. If anybody else is caught on this boat, my son will handle him. There was actually a sound effect from the orchestra there. Show him what makes the boat go. Doc Dweeb says, well, look at Ken Berry as Captain Parmenter on F Troop. Look at the stunts he did. Look at him now. You wouldn't think he was athletic. That's why I said a different kind of athletic. Today, when we say the word athletic, we think of people who work out, people who are muscular. Yeah, we have a different vision of what the word athletic means. But you're right. You actually made a Ken Berry reference. I don't think there's ever been a Ken Berry reference on any of these streams, on any show that I've ever done. No, I've mentioned Ken Berry before when we were talking about Herbie the Love Bug movies and how that was Dean Jones, not Ken Berry. I think that's the time that Ken Berry's name came up. We've got 7 people watching with us now. Say hello, folks. We're watching Steamboat Bill Jr. 1928 in the Buster Keaton film. And this is 50th Street Studio, which is a non-profit, and we have a donation goal for the month of May listed below my face there, and the donation link to my left. I'm trying to teach you to run it, not wreck it. If you look, if you scroll down below the video, look at the description of the video, or wherever you're watching us on Facebook, it'll be above the video. There's a link where you can make a donation, and it'll show up on screen. Hey, look at this. The Steamboat King is in the river. For those of you just joining us, I think everyone who's watching has been with us at the beginning, but anyone who's joining us, the big guy is Steamboat Bill, and the little guy, Buster Keaton, is Steamboat Bill Jr. Steamboat Bill is trying to teach his pansy college boy how to run a steamboat. Oh no. 8 bells and all is wrong. What are we looking at here? He's been eating peanuts. I made a mess too. Doc Dweeb says, I remember one time on F Troop, his hands, he's talking about Ken Berry here, were cuffed behind his back. He jumped up, quickly brought his knees up, and swished his cuffed arms from behind him, under him, to his front in one fluid movement. So, I will be waiting in the salon. If you really care for me, come tonight, kitty. Okay. But yeah, Doc Dweeb was talking about Ken Berry from F Troop, who was, Ken Berry was a dancer. That was his background. He got into television through dancing. I remember he used to do commercials for shoes, a shoe company. I forget the name of the company, but he used to dance in their shoes on their commercials. Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a raw throat. I may have to go home as soon as this is over and get to bed. So he went to bed with his suit on. I'll pick the young man for you, and it won't be the son of a river tramp. Look how tiny she is. What was, so I'll pick the young lady for you, and it won't be a girl with a father like that. Steamboat King. What was Buster Keaton's nickname? Was it Old Stoneface? Is that what his nickname was? One of his nicknames? He needs to go meet Kitty at the salon. Larry says the great stone face. He's hanging onto that roof one-handed there. Ouch. See, the script calls for him to fall off the wall and hit the pier, and he does it. He just does it. I took a spill off the back of a truck in December. I spent the afternoon in an emergency room getting stitches. What do you mean throwing those coconut shells on the floor? He was stepping back and forth across those two boats all afternoon earlier. Uh-oh. Well, now how does that work? Okay, this is cartoon physics here. I think I have lead-lined shoes or something. Oh. We're about halfway through the film at this point. Dr. Weep says Wile E. Coyote physics. Yeah. Cartoon physics. Not the kind of gag we've seen before in this film. It's mostly been physical comedy. Back to Boston you go. Wow. What? Whoop. just throw himself right into the water. Didn't Bill Sr. see him in the water earlier and tell him? I guess he's okay, yeah, gave him some money and a ticket back to Boston. River Junction to Boston, Massachusetts. Notice this is to notify that the steamer Stonewall Jackson is unsafe and hereby condemned until further investigation. Signed, Public Safety Committee. Well, I wonder who was responsible for that. He's still got his college outfit. Yeah, go ahead and keep the money. Well, it ought to be condemned. The first good wind would sink it anyhow. This man not only threatened my life, but has defied the law. Well, Kitty's not talking to him. Ouch. So what's going on here? King will see that he don't get out of here for a while. This is the city jail or something? Yeah, that's Bill Sr. going to jail. Yeah. He's not going to Boston. Golly. Way to hurt a guy, Kitty. Weather conditions wet and cloudy. It's a big loaf of bread. I brought my poor father bread. Throw both him and the bread out. Tell him I made it myself. Just wait around till he's famished. Doc says, why do I suspect there's a file in that loaf? I don't know. Why do you suspect that? Prisoner's Song. What is he doing here? Oh. Doc Dweeb donated 20. Thank you, Doc. Sure do appreciate it. You get the, at the $20 level, you get the Daffy Duck with the bulging eyes. Much appreciated. Always appreciate the donations. So I guess I better go. I changed my mind. I want the bread. No, I don't think you do. Come, my boy, I was only fooling. I know what it is. You're ashamed of my baking. You talk to him, Sheriff. Would this actually work? After all, the old bum is your father. Oops. Whoops. There was a whole toolkit in there. It must have happened when the dough fell in the tool chest. Yeah, that's what it was. Don't let him do that to you, Willie. Bust him in the jaw. What? The shrimp hit me? No, I might hurt you. Oh. Okay, a punch in the gut knocked him unconscious? Yeah. That's movie physics. What? We still got 6 people watching. This is 50th Street Studios Saturday Public Domain Movie Fest. They show a free movie here every Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and tonight we're watching Steamboat Bill Jr. with Buster Keaton from 1928. The last year of the silent films. The last great year of the silent films. There were other silent films after this. The great silent film Metropolis was released well into the 1930s, and one of the unique things about Metropolis is that it didn't have to be silent, but Fritz Lang worked on it for years and years. It started out as a silent film project. He wanted to finish it as a silent film project. (1928) was the year that the Al Jolson movie, The Jazz Singer, came out. It was the first successful and widely released sound film. In that same year, the first Mickey Mouse cartoon, called Steamboat Willie, which was named after this movie, was the first successful sound cartoon. We're coming up on the final act of Steamboat Bill Jr. with Buster Keaton. He just busted his dad out of jail, and now there's a posse out to get Steamboat Bill Sr. Now he's punched the sheriff in the jaw in front of the deputies. Well, that's interesting. He knows he's not going to make it with all these deputies with guns around, so he just walks right back into the jail. Yeah. There's a storm coming. What were they doing? Oh, they were taking him to the hospital. Okay. Weather conditions, storm clouds in the offing. The pier is not strong enough to hold the boat against this wind. He's pointing up at something. What's everyone looking at? Is there a tornado coming? Must be. Whoa! That's a pretty good gag. How did they get that car light enough to be blown away by a by the wind machine there? That was quite a trick. And he was right. The wind's not gonna, the boat's not gonna stand against this wind. Doc Dweeb says, I was just wondering how they rigged that myself. Well, it worked pretty well. Oh, this is quite a windstorm. Dang. Wow, the hospital staff just abandoned the hospital. James says maybe it was towed from behind. Whoa! The whole hospital building blew away. It might have been. Oh! They built all these sets just to knock them down. This is an amazing amount of work. Whoa! Yeah, hide under the bed. This is the scene I was telling you about before, the scene that you'll recognize. This guy's beard. Blap. I'm lucky this bed was here. This is the moment I was talking about that you'll recognize. You've seen this moment before. You've seen it many times and you didn't know where it was from. You see? Now, the thing is, that wasn't a special effect. They actually knocked that wall down, and Buster stood in the right spot. This is one hell of a wind machine they've got here. Look at this. Ow. Wow. Whoa. Larry says the main title sequence from The Pink Panther Strikes Again includes an animated homage to this scene. There have been countless homages to that scene, so much so that people have forgotten where it came from. Uh-oh. Oh, darn it. Ow. This is a realistic set painting. Ventriloquist dummy. Oh! Okay, they just gave away the trick. I forgot about that gag with the ventriloquist dummy. That was brilliant. There's another falling house. So I guess we're left to assume there was a dog in there. And there's the building that blew away a couple of scenes ago. That was a special effect. That was actually a film effect. Oh. Nope. Ow. That was a special effect too. That was an animated effect. Nope. Looks like Bill Sr. is in the safest place in town. Maybe not. Oh, the whole jail is going into the river. And he's locked in there. Oh no. Oh, there's Kitty. He actually landed that anchor on the first throw. So this is the kind of thing I was talking about. This is the kind of stunt that I was talking about. He's going hand over hand across the water there. And now he's got this woman hanging off of him with her arms around his neck. And he's going back across the rope. Okay, she was unconscious, but now she's wide awake. Okay, he's gonna have to learn knot tying very quickly. What is it he's doing? What's he doing exactly? Okay. He's driving the boat. I guess the idea is just smash the jailhouse open. Yeah. Genius. Genius. I just hope Dad hasn't been smashed flat. Well, he survived. So the old Stonewall Jackson survived the storm and survived a collision with the jailhouse. Maybe it didn't need to be condemned. Doc Dweeb says, as promised, sir, she's all yours. Fully automated, a chimpanzee and 2 trainees could run her. Is that a line from a movie? Now, the Steamboat King sank. And there's a Steamboat King himself. So we're looking for a happy ending all around here. Doc Dweeb says Star Trek 3 when Scotty automated the Enterprise. I saw Star Trek 3 exactly once when it was released in theaters. The Search for Spock thing. Yeah, I was not impressed with it. Never saw it again. Here we are rescuing the Steamboat King. This must have been one hell of an uncomfortable movie shoot. Rain machines, wind machines for days on end, falling in and out of the water. Oh, he's going to rescue the minister. Ha ha ha. The end. Okay, folks. There was Steamboat Bill Jr. What did you think? Was it worth sitting through it with me here at the 50th Street Saturday Public Domain Movie Fest? The camera looks out of focus to me. It's focusing on my hand real nice there, but it doesn't seem to be focusing on my face. Yeah, seems out of focus. Doc Dweeb says, quite enjoyable. Yeah, I assume, I had never seen the movie all the way through before I decided to show it here. James says, sure. Well, thank you for joining us, James. Thank you for staying all the way through. Glad to have you. I'd love feedback from all of you about the film. We are at 9 o'clock already, so I'll end there. I was thinking about showing Steamboat Willie, the Mickey Mouse cartoon that was inspired by this. The Mickey Mouse cartoon included the song, included the music called Steamboat Bill Jr., which this movie was inspired by. That little tune that Mickey Mouse is whistling at the beginning was the song Steamboat Bill Jr. The Kino restoration here did not include the music Steamboat Bill Jr. Larry says, absolutely. Thank you, Keith. Feel better. I feel fine. The throat is a little scratchy. It usually is at the end of the evening. It feels a little scratchier than usual. Brian says lots of fun. James says you're welcome. Thank you guys for sitting through it with me. Tomorrow, I usually don't live stream on Sundays. Tomorrow, though, at 9 p.m. Pacific, it's going to be late. There is a live stream being put on by Mystery Science Theater. They are going to be watching one of their earliest films from season 1 called Moon 02, a really laughably bad science fiction film from the 1960s, and in full color, not an old thing, with a really bizarre jazz soundtrack. They'll be watching it, and I'll be watching their stream, and I'll be restreaming it from my little space here, and I'll have myself down in the corner, and we'll watch it together. They'll be doing all new riffing of this old film. It's one of my favorites. When I say old, again, it's because it's from season 1 of Mystery Science Theater back in 1989. If you all would like to join me, you're welcome to. I don't know what I'm going to do for the Tuesday night live stream. I might skip it. And I'm also not sure what I'm going to do for the Saturday movie next Saturday. I don't know what the rest of this month is going to be like. I am planning on moving out of this space and shutting everything down and no longer being here by June. So I don't know how much streaming I'm going to be doing while time we have left. But you know, come to think of it, I'll be able to stream from elsewhere by next Saturday. So yeah, I'll do a movie next Saturday. What am I thinking? I'll have another place to stream from by next Saturday. And I'm thinking, I was talking with Larry about this the other day. I think I'll show Masquerade, the Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn movie from the 1960s with the Henry Mancini soundtrack. The suspense / murder mystery / romantic comedy. You all know the film I'm talking about. Would you like to see that next Saturday? Would that be something you'd like to sit through? It'll be a long one. It'll take up the full 2 hours, I think. It's a good suspense film. Miranda says yes. Have you ever seen it before, Miranda? James says charade, not masquerade. Did I say masquerade? I was hearing charade in my head. Did I say masquerade? See, that's when I called you by the wrong name earlier. I was thinking James, and I said something else entirely. That's what happens when you're live in front of a microphone. That kind of thing happens all the time. So it is called charade. Miranda says no, but I would like to. It's worth seeing. Brian says charade is great. Okay, we'll do charade then. Next Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Tuesday, I'm not sure if I'll live stream, but we'll see. And then tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific, join me here for a Mystery Science Theater watch through. And you all will be able to chat with me while we watch it. And I'll do some talking, but they'll be riffing the movie, so we'll have to pay attention. But I'll talk through it, sure. All right, thank you again, everybody. And again, if you have donations to make, please look at the link in the description, either below or above, depending on which platform, on what website you're watching us on. And please consider making donations. And that's it for me tonight, and that's it for Steamboat Bill Jr. Hopefully we all had a good time, and good night.